while we're talking about being neurodiverse, we will also be taste testing some candy canes that I got on clearance after Christmas. We've got Pebbles candy canes. These are, of course, Fruity Pebbles and Cocoa Pebble candy canes. And then I also got the Hostess candy canes. Honestly, these might be disgusting. Hello, and welcome back to Ruben Uncut. Oh, now you're the one who's in focus. Damn it. But, there we go. Kind of got us both in focus. Son of a bitch. Zoom. Sometimes two people are going to be... All right, so it's going to look weird. I'm going to deal with that. I might even just put the audio up on Spotify. This video this weird in and out of focus video might still go up on YouTube. We'll see. But anyways, welcome to Ruben Uncut. Today, I'm here with my good friend Gato.
Hi.
And we're going to be talking about being neurodiverse, because that is something that we both are.
Yeah.
I, as an adult, was diagnosed with autism. I have a real diagnosis. I did not self-diagnose myself. I work in the disability community, so I'm way too self-conscious to self-diagnose myself. But what's funny is that I feel like I'm stereotypically come off more as like a person who has autism and ADHD, but I have never tested positive for ADHD, and I've been tested at least twice, which blows my mind. And of course, my good friend Gato here.
I got diagnosed with ADHD when I was 32. So honestly, the diagnosis made like a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember researching it after and going, wait a minute, what? Because it's like, oh, I've done that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I did that. It was pretty much all the bad ones too.
When I was diagnosed, I felt kind of like relieved.
Yeah,
like
it is kind of nice knowing.
It almost felt like there was a weird thing lifted off of me, where I was like, oh, okay, yeah. So it was like, Ruben, you are weird both because of nurture and nature. So you're really well lit when it chooses to go to you for some reason. Like the lighting gets better.
Either, so
no, it's when I move. If I can just no. Okay. I almost wish I was doing this live. While we're talking about being neurodiverse, we will also be taste testing some candy canes that I got on clearance after Christmas. We've got Pebbles candy canes. These are, of course, Fruity Pebbles and Cocoa Pebble candy canes. And then I also got the Hostess candy canes. Honestly, these might be disgusting. I don't know yet. I haven't tasted them, but these are coming ding dong flavor, snowball flavor, and Twinkie flavor. What do you...
I am intrigued by the idea of snack cake candy canes.
All right, you want to start over there? I will tell you, I think it's very likely that I think there's a higher percent chance that these might be disgusting. Because like I've had chocolate candy canes and I've had fruity candy canes, and they're normally not bad. Chocolate candy cane's a little weird, but edible, tasty, still candy. But snack cakes with some extra flavors in there, and I don't know if I trust. And I'll start with Twinkie, because I'll be honest, I hate Twinkies. I will eat a Twinkie if I'm high enough, but Twinkies are kind of disgusting. Although I did have a pumpkin spice Twinkie, I actually thought it was better than a regular Twinkie in terms of flavor.
The only little Debbie stuff I can, like snack cake type stuff I consume, is like the little Debbie gingerbread stuff. That's seasonal.
This looks like the yellow the Twinkie one looks like it looks like it should be lemony or something, but no smell.
Yeah, no, I'm glad it's not just me, because between having COVID, I got COVID 3 times, and all the cigarettes, it's smelling is not something I do a great job of.
Ooh, it's very sweet. Takes a second to hit you though. It tastes like a candy corn.
Yeah, it just tastes like candy corn. This isn't
like strong candy corn too. I'll probably edit through some of us eating it, but if you're
It's not like terrible.
You know, it's edible, but like it is really underwhelming.
I feel like it would get less good the longer you stay at it, though.
Yeah, like it's really sweet. Like it would definitely become an issue at some point. So there's something. As autistic, I mean, as neurodiverse people, did you find you had a lot of issues with food growing up, especially?
I don't know. The only thing I've heard from my parents is that I hated chicken, so they would have to lie to me about certain things being chicken.
Interesting.
Yeah, like I thought chicken cordon bleu was fish when I was a kid because they lied to me and told me it was fish.
That's amazing. Actually, hold on. I bet I want this sound to be louder. Yes, I do. Yes, I do, because we're not as close to the mic. I hope I might have to turn up the audio on those on the beginning of this podcast, but that's okay. Where was I? Right. I was kind of like I still have trouble with spicy food. I'm not a big spicy food person. I take very much after my mom in terms of uh, our taste in food to a certain extent. Although she eats a lot of flaxseed, and flax oil is ugh, unfortunate taste.
My mom grew up in New Orleans, so that was.
Oh, so you were probably exposed to spicy food at an early age.
Yeah, I mean, looking back, she would kind of like dull it down for everyone that wasn't me, because apparently I've always been the only one that can handle it. My sister does okay now, but I'm the only one who was consistently able to handle it.
My brothers like spicy food a lot, and so does my dad. But me and my mom we have very mild taste in food. But
And then like between that and then living in Tulsa for 10 years, I can eat pretty much whatever.
that's fair. What about texture? Were there any food textures you have a problem with?
The only texture that I have a problem with is corduroy. So like it's not food related.
Interesting.
Yeah, I hate corduroy, dude. And that's just because of that shitty car my dad had.
Okay. All right.
I remember that. I think that came up on an episode one time.
My brain always fucks up the difference between denim and corduroy, but corduroy, yes. So corduroy is a little bit like denim if it was a little fuzzy. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I don't know. Like I think some got under my fingernails or something when I was clutching the seat while my dad was gunning it on this like back road that was in the mountains in Germany with no guardrail. So I was like clutching the seat.
Terrifying.
Yeah, and he thought it was fun. He thought it was fun for me that he was doing that.
You know what's okay? So when I was a kid, my parents were hippies and they homeschooled us and stuff, and like, but they were also very conscious about us getting socialized. So like we would like go and hang out with friends, and we had this one couple of friends. I'm not going to say their name because you'll understand once you hear what the story is. But like their mom would do this thing that she figured out that we liked. There were just like a couple of key back roads where like I'm thinking about this now and I'm like, this is insane actually. So there were like these weird back roads and she would drive a van and she would warn us and like we would just like she would just drive crazy and we would let ourselves just be thrown around the van. And I'm thinking back on this now, and I'm like, when we were kids, we loved this. But in hindsight, it's like that sounds bad.
Yeah, that's like hillbilly shit.
That is hillbilly shit. and like I think we used to call it like crazy driver, or it might even be crazy woman driver. I don't know. But like their mom would do this and just like throw us around the van. And there was like a hill too, so we could get some air in it.
Oh man, yeah, like I actually never saw that in Oklahoma. I never saw anyone riding in the bed of a pickup truck while as it was on the road. I've seen plenty of people drinking in the beds of a pickup truck, but never sitting in them and riding around.
I found out apparently it's legal to ride in the back of a pickup truck if you're on a back road and you're only doing 15 miles an hour. According to
Oh,
the
that'll make you some friends on a back road real quick.
according to the driver's test I had to take here in Ohio. I was like, I always remember that from studying for my license because it was such a random, like specific loophole in the law. I'm not even a real loophole. Like it is like the legal limit for that apparently.
I don't remember anything about my. Oh wait, I do remember that when I took driver's ed, we had some like he in hindsight he definitely was just burned out from years of doing something. Not sure what, because it was that long ago, but he showed some signs of, at the very least, drinking a lot. Because I remember, like, my mom was worried they were going to show mechanized death.
Oh, like one of those videos.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And she was like, if you're showing mechanized death, like, I don't want my kid seeing that mechanized death. Are you going to show mechanized death? And he said, no, we actually got new stuff I'm going to show. And then 3 days in, he showed mechanized death. and, and, and I remember my mom picked me up and like, yeah, that's like torture. I hated driver's ed class. I remember I hated it because it was like 3 hours and I was 16 years old and ADHD was probably starting to manifest.
I see. So you actually knew me when I was getting my driver's license because I was 23 when I got my license.
I remember many times Marshall like just like I remember one time Marshall came to meet me at the dorm and at my dorm, and then we'd walk back to your apartment from there. And I remember thinking it was weird that he wanted to do that because you didn't live that far from me. And then he was just like, I guess he had taken you out to like show you some stuff about how to drive, and you did something.
Oh, I know. No, I know this. I almost hit a tree.
Oh yeah, that was it. Yeah.
And I actually had like minor PTSD from that incident. Like for years, like maybe like 5 or 6 years after that event, like I would get like the weird flashback thing that comes with PTSD whenever I would like be in a car, like riding past that spot. I'd just be like, and
yeah, I know that. I know that.
I yeah, no, I felt terrible, but I was relieved because I did ultimately stop in time. Like
Yeah.
there was no damage to anything.
Yeah.
But like it was like a very close call.
Yeah, Marshall drove a truck at the time, so he would have been fine. But yeah. Forget what original point we were. Oh yeah, driver's ed.
Yeah.
And then my mom picked me up from driver's ed one day, and I thought, what would you do today? It's like we watched an old like driver's ed movie, like it looked pretty old, like from like the 60s or something, maybe. She was like, and then like I remember her like eyebrows shot up, and she was like, "Do you remember the name of it?" It's like it's Mechanized Death. I remember because I thought it sounded metal.
It does sound pretty metal. It does.
It's like, yeah,
very metal.
Mechanized Death. She's like, and she was like, that's the one of the few times I heard my mom swear. She was like, that motherfucker. She like drove back the next day, like chewed him out.
I specifically said that I did not want my child to be traumatized by this movie that traumatized me as a child.
The actor like full accent came out and everything. She was mad.
Now you listen here.
Like, motherfucker, I told you. I asked you, you could show Mechanized Death. You said no. I think he had the box for it on his desk still because he was a fucking idiot burnout and he didn't say anything. The only things I remember learning, it was all just videos, which is torture. And the only thing he taught us was make sure you have sunglasses when you drive. And then he went off on a tangent about how, but make sure they look cool because then you will be because if you'll drive better if you don't think you look doofy. That was the word he used.
What?
And after that, no one took that class seriously at all. After that,
I mean, how could you?
The only other thing I remember about that class is that one day somebody just ordered pizza to the class and then proceeded to eat the pizza while the lecture was going. Dude, no sold it. So then everyone started doing that every day.
Wow. That's how you know how you have a teacher who does not give a fuck.
Yeah, and for some reason, like the agency was based out in fucking Delaware, Ohio, which is like this more rural area outside Columbus.
Interesting.
And yeah, so he was just some like dumb burned out hillbilly that
Wild.
whose big takeaway for us was don't look doofy while you drive.
Like that sounds like something that it sounds like something that a guy on a 90s sitcom where the sitcom was like cheaply trying to rip off the Fonz would do. Like just like that guy who like thinks too much about being cool is somehow teaching your class. He's like, okay, and the most important thing to remember, guys, the way you look while you're doing it.
Oh, dude, I just remembered something else that's starting to come back to me. Like at one point, like since we were all like 16, 17, uh, he's like, "Hey, you guys gonna go to college?" And then like, like the usual amount raise their hands. And he's like, "You know what college is, right? Living in sin, baby," or something like that. We were like, "What the fuck?"
Well,
he's trying to be cool. Like, yeah, party time, right, guys? Like, no,
that's how you know that his exposure to college is like the movie Animal House and other movies from that time period that ripped it off.
The dude was at least in his 40s too. Like,
that makes sense.
Just like I remember
college is about getting laid. Yeah. Let us try this next flavor. I believe this is Snowball.
Yeah, okay, this one might work.
I'm trying to remember what flavor I've had a Snowball. My impression of Snowballs I remember was that they are better than Twinkies.
It's marshmallow and coconut on the outside, and it's just like regular snack cake shit on the inside. So we'll see what I imagine the coconut is going to be what's going to get
interesting.
The attention.
I can't immediately identify the taste. Internet, now is your chance, internet.
This just tastes like marshmallow.
Yeah. There's like a hint of coconut, but it is mostly marshmallow.
It's not bad, but I wouldn't want to eat the whole thing. It's better than Twinkie, though.
It is better than the Twinkie one. Weirdly enough, it is better than the Twinkie one. Look here. Internet's now's your chance if you ever wanted to like make memes of us sucking tiny, tiny penises. I really shouldn't bait the I shouldn't bait the internet like that. But they've never taken the bait, so I just keep doing it. But where were we? Yes. Yeah, no, I'm betting that guy's major. Dude, I've been watching a lot of trash on Tubi. Sometimes I'll just have it on in the background when I'm doing something else. You know Tubi, right? The streaming service. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Who Tubi's making moves, man. They're making moves. Like last year, Tubi has been like, we're gonna have original content. We're gonna license shit from HBO and Warner Bros. Although to be fair, that's partly because Warner Brothers is like, we need to make money yesterday. Yep. Start licensing our best properties to people. What is that? Well, it's HBO and DC stuff. Get on it. Man, that streaming service really is just like on a certain level, it's just built around the fact that Warner Brothers owns HBO, Harry Potter, and DC Comics. But yeah, I have to look into seeing if I could do like why it's doing this focus thing that I did not ask it to do. But movies from that time period, movies from like the 70s and like early 80s are insane. Like most of it's just campy, weird trash.
Yeah.
And like, but some of it I watch it and I'm like, wow, I actually don't know if you could make a movie like this today. I think somebody would say something. Like I watch I watched this weird trilogy of movies. I would call it like the cheerleader trilogy, because the first movie is called The Cheerleaders, and it is literally just it is practically softcore pornography. It is literally just about a team of cheerleaders who all they basically do is go around fucking. And like there's one new cheerleader who can't get laid like for like the whole movie until eventually she gets laid at like the perfect opportune time. And like I watched the movie and I'm just like, what the fuck? Like you could not make this today. And then like the sequel, which is called the swinging cheerleaders, ironically, way less nudity. There's still nudity and there's still fucking, but like it's actually like plot relevant, although technically the fucking was plot relevant in the first movie because the plot was entirely about fucking. But in Swinging Cheerleaders, ironically, the set ironically has significantly less fucking, and it's basically the whole plot of the movie is that there's this smart chick, and it takes place at college. Like someone after the first one was like, guys, maybe tone down the fucking and make everybody 18, okay? And so they make the sequel, and it's just that it's like a standard 80s trope plot where it's like I'm I'm the smart reporter student who's journalist major who's gonna like infiltrate the cheerleaders and show how vain and vapid their culture is. But then of course she bonds with the cheerleaders and realizes that the guy who runs the newspaper is a douche. And like I'm watching and I'm like, oh shit, for the sequel, they toned everything down and made a real movie. And then like midway through the movie, it does something just wildly out of pocket where I was suddenly like, what the fuck? And I got a trigger warning you for this. The thing that it does, like wildly out of pocket, is that like the sleazy like newspaper journalist ex-boyfriend character ends up hooking up with a cheerleader and then invites a bunch of guys over to gangbang her. We don't see the gangbang, and she like comes out of it like totally like weird and messed up, and then another guy goes and beats that thing up. But like, there's a certain point in the movie where I'm just like, what the fuck? And then I watched the third movie, and the third movie was like a cross between. Like someone was like, no, put him back in high school and put more titties in it. In fact, just have characters walking around naked for no reason. And the third movie's plot is basically the principal of the school wants to sell the school to develop the land, and the cheerleaders have to stop them. But like, I watched those movies, and like, I genuinely think back and I'm like, I don't think you could make this today. And even if you could, it wouldn't be released in theaters. These movies were released in theaters.
Yeah.
Also, movies from like through the 70s through like the 90s were weird about sexualizing kids all the time. You ever notice that?
Yeah. There's a I mean, do you listen to like some like song lyrics from back then? It's never just like they use little girl a lot,
Mm-hmm.
like a lot.
Yeah, no, we know this from when we reviewed all those Gene Simmons lyrics.
Yeah. And he wasn't even the only one doing it. Like you're just copying everybody else. Fucking,
Ted Nugent's music's disgusting.
yeah, yeah. And then there's just like Led Zeppelin has a bunch of stuff like that, like some like more like hippie kind of bands. I mean like that like Little Red Riding Hood song. Sam
Little Red Riding Hood.
I don't think
Sure all looking good.
Yeah.
Oh my god, yeah, no, like Cat Scratch Fever, that song Ted Nugent wrote about fucking a 13-year-old.
No, yeah, it's just called Jailbait, I think.
Jesus Christ. Well, to be fair, maybe we can. Here's a weird transition we can make. How do you think you relate to music?
Yeah, I mean that's one of the first things that like I really connected with when I was a kid because of, like my mom played Beatles records all the time. all the time.
What eras of the Beatles would you say your mom is more of a type of Beatles fan?
She liked all of it, but I noticed she usually would play like Magical Mystery Tour.
Okay.
Was a big one for her. Sergeant Pepper's, like so, like a lot of trippier kind of Beatles. Let It Be was her favorite record.
That's a good song. That's a good song. I have always been of the opinion that the Beatles got better when they started doing better drugs.
Yeah, like the first song that I remember being like blown away by was like "I Am the Walrus." I was like 8.
That's a fun song. Apparently, John Lennon was making fun of Bob Dylan when he wrote it.
Yeah, that makes sense. I can see that.
By the way, we are about to taste the ding dong flavor, the most tiny dick flavor. Oh, interesting. I think it might just be chocolate. Having trouble?
Here we go.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just chocolate.
Yeah, it's just chocolate. That's not surprising.
These are fucking lazy.
They are pretty lazy. Yeah. Kind of disappointing. They did not. It feels like they under-delivered on the snack cake part.
Yeah.
They got like, I mean, like they're edible candy, but like I've had worse. Candy.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Disappointing. I have a very strange relationship with music. I grew up with there just being constant music. My parents were always going to like jam parties, and like we were hippies, so like they didn't leave us at home. My parents never hired a babysitter almost ever. Like me and my brothers, they would just take us to the Dead show, take us to the concert, whatever. So music was always just happening. And what's weird is I grew up to like basically be like not really listen to music on the regular. It blows people's minds when I tell them, "Oh yeah, no, that's my favorite band. I haven't listened to them in like a year and a half." People are like, "How?" And like I don't know how to explain it. It's not that I don't listen to music. I do. I have favorite albums, favorite bands, but like I don't know. There's just like I almost need there to be something else going on for me to want to listen to music. Like I need to pair it with something, or I'm weirdly understimulated. But that being said, I've always been a big fan of music videos, the soundtracks to movies. I mean I don't listen to the soundtracks to the movies separately, but there are certain movies where I really appreciate how the music enhances the film. But I grew up with my parents just dragging me to Grateful Dead shows all the time, like just constantly.
Did you get like I wanted to play music too? Like I wanted to write songs. Like that was like the first thing I wanted to do, like creatively when I was a kid. I didn't do it until I was like in high school, but that was always like the end goal for me with music. And which is weird because at first it as hyper and just inattentive as I was, they decided the best instrument for me to start with was piano, which is like the most boring, tedious instrument.
so I ended up taking piano lessons for a decent chunk of my my childhood, and it was that was a mistake. To a certain degree, like the only reason I even got it, like the only reason I even got into playing the piano was because like my parents would always take us to like instrument stores. So my parents were big music people. My dad plays a handful of instruments, and then he also has a bunch of other instruments that he thinks he can play. But there's a few that he can. But like I would always be always be most interesting when we would go to like music stores in like the keyboards. But like I think the thing I never successfully explained to them was that my love of keyboards was because they could do special effects, like sound effects. Like I could like and other like weird like techie stuff you could do with it. And I don't think my parents ever really got that. Because I never got a keyboard. My parents had already purchased a baby grand piano because they love instruments, And so that's what I had to play on. And like I didn't care about it. Like I actually got to a point where like I actively resented my father's love of the piano. That he does not know how to play, by the way. My father
Oh, dude,
cannot play the piano.
like when I quit piano, like that. I still wanted to play music, and that was like about when we moved to America, and that's when they start like introducing like band classes. Was around that time, and I wanted to, and they had a guitar at the assembly, and I wanted to play that. For whatever reason, instead of just going like, okay, cool, let's get you that then. They decided they wanted to test if I actually wanted to do it. So they said, in order to do that, you have like because they knew I was shit at sports, so that wasn't going to happen. So they wanted to have an extracurricular, so they just kind of pushed me into music. But during the fittings, like my dad thought French horns were neat for some reason. He still does. I don't know, and that's what he said I wanted to play, so that's what I played. Like
Now,
we didn't even try anything. They're like, "Oh, good, yeah, that's actually great. You get more opportunities because no one wants to play it."
now, from the way you phrase that, I do want to ask: do you not remember wanting to play the French horn, but remember him saying you wanted to play it?
I never wanted to play French horn. I didn't even know what a French horn was.
Okay. So this was definitely his
Yeah,
idea.
yeah, he was definitely projecting it on. I don't know why in the fuck he picked French horn, but he
Somewhere in,
decided because like I may have touched on before, like my dad like view of masculinity was either you were like a tough, strong, no show emotions, or you were like a classy, sophisticated person. Those are the two options for being a dude. So he's like, okay, well I was a very high strung, emotional kid, and I was bad at sports. So he's like, okay, well you're gonna be classy then. So I guess maybe he thought that was the classiest instrument in his head. I don't know.
I mean, it is funny to just like imagine your father
Yeah, just this.
being like, if only I could have been a French horn player. Yes, will
Ne-
be that.
yeah, he never played an instrument ever. I don't think. I don't remember him. He squawks along in in church choir, but that's about the only musical thing he does. But I remember when I started playing it, like I just wanted to like get it over with because they said if you stick with this, we will get you a guitar. So it was like they were holding what I actually wanted hostage from me, and the only way I could get it was playing French horn. But for some reason, my dad took it upon himself to not only make me practice, but he would sit in the air and instruct me, even though he did not know how to read music and he did not know how to play French horn or indeed any instrument. He decided he was going to teach me.
I feel like that's. I feel like learning how to read music was the only thing I really got out of learning to play the piano.
Yeah, that's all I got out of French horn too. Was but I can only read music for French horn though. I don't fucking know. Like you could show me guitar sheet music. I'm like, what the fuck is this shit? I don't know.
I can only read sheet music for piano, and it's because piano is just like very. I don't know if I don't know if linear is the right word or literal. Like if you know where middle C is on a piano and you know where it is on your sheet music, you can figure everything else out from there. Uh, with a piano, and that's the major takeaway I had from learning to play piano. Of course, to be fair, I've had like people who play other instruments say, "Well, you can do that with other instruments." I was like, maybe you can, but I don't know what the fuck that looks like on your sheet music, man. When did you? So you eventually? No, let's open up these pebbles. I think I'm gonna make a just the candy canes edit. We'll start with the other chocolate. So I guess so. The question is, will this be a better chocolate? Will the Cocoa Pebbles chocolate be better, the worst, or basically the same?
I feel like it'll be a lateral move, but it's not going to have like that marshmallow aftertaste that the other one did.
That's a good point. Initial taste reminds me of any candy cane that is not peppermint flavored.
Mm-hmm.
So this is at least a more traditional candy cane in some way. Starting to get the chocolatey taste.
It's all right. Yeah, lateral move.
This is more what I would expect from a chocolate candy cane.
Mm-hmm.
Like it has more of that like I don't know how to, like weirdly enough it has more of like a candy cane taste than the Hostess ones do. So I don't know what that's about. Like maybe there's whatever the hell. I wonder what the difference is. Sugar, maltose syrup. Oh, interesting. The Hostess ones use something called maltose syrup, and the Post Pebbles ones use something called glucose syrup. And both of them contain a color that is now banned. So at some point your extracurriculars also moved you into theater. Were you doing music and theater at the same time?
I clipped French horn in like 10th grade.
Okay. Is that around the time you started doing theater?
No, I started doing theater right when I got to high school because my parents were trying to keep me off the street.
As you do.
Because in middle school, I was hanging out with like the weird skate kids that like sniffed paint, that like sniffed glue and stuff. So those are my friends in middle school.
And so your parents were probably like,
okay, John's gonna end up being some kind of degenerate if we don't get him into something. And then they knew sports wasn't happening. They kept making me do band initially, but there's no like social aspect to band. Not the concert bands that I was in, because you don't march with a French horn, and if you did, I wouldn't have wanted to do it. So and my sister did theater, so they're like, oh, just do theater with your sister. And I remember them saying like, just do it for a year, and if you don't like it, you don't have to do it any of the other times. But it turned out it was actually kind of fun for me, so I kept doing it.
Nice.
It definitely forced me to make friends because there's a whole lot of them running around, and like I wasn't the only high-strung weirdo in drama club, so I felt like not alone anymore. So that was kind of nice at least.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got into theater when I was about 10 or 11. I would definitely say being around other weirdos was nice. It wasn't like when my parents tried to get me into the Scouts. Oh,
my parents actually never made me do stuff like that.
I
think it's because we moved so much that they thought it was pointless.
All the kids that either were in Scouts, all the kids that were in Scouts, or the kids that I met through geography, I did not fit in geography club. These were both homeschool groups my parents had gotten us into, and like a thing that I should have I don't know how aware of it I was as a child, but like there are basically two subcategories of homeschoolers. You got your Christians and your hippies. And and like in every situation, it was just very apparent. It's like, oh, okay, we're the weird hippie kids in the weird Christian kid family's house. I see what's happening here. And like it led to several very awkward situations. For starters, my what turned into a like perpetual hatred of the guy who ran the Cub Scouts that they originally got us into. Just hate that guy. Hate that guy so much. And no, he never did anything that terrible. He was just an annoying fuck. And also, they were German. Like their family was very German. Like to the point where like they would speak German. And like I recognize now that they viewed a lot of my autistic behaviors. And to be fair, I hadn't been diagnosed at that point. They identified a lot of my behaviors as me being a problem.
Yeah, that's how my behaviors were identified.
And it was weird to me because I had grown up around hippies, and like hippie adults had never at any point been like, that kid's a problem because of my autistic behavior. Like a lot, like because hippies think you're fascinating as a kid. They want to hear everything that you have to say, which is both what is nice and also probably dumb about hippies. But it's what makes them such a wonderful people. But like also makes you go, well, how is your critical thinking going there, man? But like, So like I had grown up around hippies who had always been excited to see like whatever eccentric mannerisms I would have. And now this like very, very like straight laced, like absurdly kind of socially conservative German family who ran the Cub Scouts were having to deal with me. And like it was like I look back on it now and it's like, okay, yeah, yeah, no, they were not ready for my autism. Or the fact that I was raised by hippies, or the fact that my parents didn't train me to be very quiet. I look back on it now and I realize their whole family was kind of like weirdly quiet. Yeah, but yeah, I was me loud neurodiverse kid was a problem for them, and it actually like I even had like before I left right before I left the Scouts and gave up on pursuing Boy Scouts because it was like fuck this. I had like an altercation with him where like my mom wanted me to because what happened was I got banned from attending because I had basically been interrogating a public official about policies related to the height of your yard's grass. For me as a child, I was like, but why are you regulating our grass, the height of our grass? Why does it have to be 6 inches? Why does the government care? And apparently, and apparently that resulted in them being like, by the way, we would like Ruben not to come back anymore. He really should be moving on to Boy Scouts anyways. And frankly, his behavior's been a problem for a long time. And it's like, what? And as an autistic kid, I also was like devastated by the fact that my behavior had apparently been a problem for a long time, and that no one had ever said anything to me about it. It's very upset.
Yeah, that's the one thing that my parents did there. Is like, if I was being annoying, they would get me about it. Like, stop it. Quit it.
But I hated that guy. And like, although to be fair, I will take responsibility for how awkward I was at geography club. Like, like I don't know what's wrong with me, but like they were like, okay, everyone, this month you're gonna make your project for Germany. And so, what did I do one on? I wrote a presentation about how Germany was the country in which Adolf Hitler, one of the worst human beings in history, rose to power. And and I went near the end after a whole bunch of people had all these things, all these great things like castles, pastries, strudel. By the way, guys, we must never forget the horrific, terrible behavior of Adolf Hitler. It's like, so obviously and like for Russia, I chose to do Stalin. It was like, it was like, I'm not letting anybody off the hook. It's like, we're supposed to be here to love countries. What are you doing?
Talking about food and like festivals and
stuff. And it's like,
and don't forget about this authoritarian regime.
You're sliding out of the picture slowly. Yeah, no, that was child Ruben. He was like, never forget. Never forget. I'm sure that child Ruben, if he had been born in another era, would have been like, and on this night, and for my next report, 9/11. Oh wait, no, that was college Ruben. That was college Ruben. No, in college for an English class, I actually did write a paper on why the Bush family killed John F. Kennedy. But or I should not really why, but that they were involved. That was the paper. But yeah. Where were we? All right, theater.
Yeah.
So yes, I was happy to be in theater because I was still allowed to be a weirdo. Something that I felt like was not appreciated in scouts or geography club.
Yeah, I liked acting a lot. Yeah, like the last 3 years of high school theater for me, I was almost exclusively acting or directing.
Oh, nice.
Because I was the guy in drama club in a public school. But I did win some trophies
Nice.
for it. My name at least used to be on a plaque in my school in the theater lobby on a plaque that it's not very noticeable, but it was there. It might still be there. I don't know.
Nice. Nice. I think I have only won two acting awards in my child through college. Actually, I was college age for both of these. Um, I played Montgomery McNeil in a stage production of the non-musical version of Fame. And yes, there is a non-musical version of Fame that exists. If for some reason you're like, we want to do Fame, but we're not paying for the music, there is a non Samuel French has a script for the non-musical version of Fame. And also, like, I almost wonder, I want to know what the story of why this adaptation exists, because in the movie Fame, which is a musical, Montgomery McNeil is gay. But for some reason, in the non musical adaptation of the play, he's not gay. He is a eunuch.
Huh.
He had his testicles removed from rare childhood testicular cancer. So, like, I don't know what happened with that adaptation of Fame, but I did get a trophy for playing Montgomery McNeil in the non-musical version of Fame.
My dad finally converted all of our old bedrooms into just guest rooms.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so because which is nice because it used to be like I hated going back home to visit because I would have to look at the shelf of all the shit I won in high school drama club, and then just like feel like a piece of shit.
I haven't won a single award since I was a child. I guess I peaked as a child.
Yeah, yeah, because like especially when I was like in my mid after I moved to Oklahoma and I was like just wild turkey all the time, like that level of drunk. I was just like really like just bummed out pretty much all the time. Probably because also I had the major depressive disorder that I didn't know about because I kept just drinking and drinking more whiskey instead of getting screened for things.
I hear that. Although I never.
In my defense, I lived in Oklahoma. I assumed the social programs would suck. Turns out that you're actually pretty okay as far as efficiency. Amenities, that's another story. But
It's understandable that you would be concerned about Oklahoma's social programs.
yeah, but yeah, I don't know. Like there were still some things about drama club that I thought were annoying, and just like the campy drama club energy, never liked it.
That's probably also related to the major depressive disorder.
Yeah, which was probably manifesting when I was like 17, and then really cranked up when I moved away to Kent. Remember when I moved to college? Went away to college, I knew that acting in plays all the time wasn't going to happen because I didn't want to major in theater. And also, like, I knew people who were going to school for theater and they were like all stressed out. I was like, I have to go get headshots done, but I don't have enough money for headshots. So I got to bum some money to get these headshots. And I got to go to all these auditions. I got to practice all these auditions. Just, it didn't sound fun anymore. So I was like, I don't want to do that. And also, I knew that, like, I all of my acting experience was in high school. I was never the lead in anything. I was always like very prevalent supporting roles or bit parts. Like that was pretty much everything I did. Like the thing I was on the plaque for was best supporting actor for like whatever the fuck year it was.
Mm.
I don't know how I'm pretty sure they just asked people in the audience, like, "Hey, what little guy did you think was good at the play?" And then apparently I was good at the supporting parts a lot. And also, I was the guy in high school drama club in the Midwest. So I was gonna get plenty of work.
The only time I have ever gotten the lead role in a play that I did not write was in college. I got to be the main I got to be the main I got to be the title role in Ubu Roy or Ubu Ra, depending on how French you want to get with it. Do you remember that one?
I remember you talking about it a lot.
Okay.
I don't know if that. I think that it happened already by the time I got to it.
Okay. It's possible. I feel like I knew you then, but you might not have been fully integrated into the group.
Yeah, maybe. I don't remember.
The timeline is fuzzy. There
Yeah,
was a
yeah. A lot of the that era is kind of a blur to me.
yes, the a lot of marijuana in that time period. And other drugs. That was a fun show though. For those who aren't familiar, Ubu Roy is a play by a French alcoholic. It is considered one of the early works of absurdism, and is often connected to the Dadaist movement, because it's basically Macbeth. Uh, if Macbeth was written by a guy who was hammered out of his mind, and also writing it as a comedy, kind of. Yeah. So I guess technically I played the absurdist version of Macbeth, but that was a good time.
I don't remember too. I'm sure if I sat down and really thought about it, I could remember all the shit parts I played in high school. But the ones I remember, I got to play. My favorite play that from high school is I got to be in the Mousetrap.
Oh,
By the Christie, I was Mr. Paravicini, and I went really like weird and like creepy with it instead of making him all like I think they wanted him to be like a classy, like sophisticated, like dandy type. But I was like, no, I'm gonna make him like this really weird dude where you just look at him and be like, what's your fucking problem, man? Like that's what I did with it.
that
I was constantly wringing my hands like as a nervous tick. That's one of the choices I made. Yeah, looking back on it, I'd never fucking be able to work with a script like that now. Not like that. Like you have to say it as written. Like using it as a guideline, maybe, but like no way.
so this wasn't were you, I forget if no, I think it might have been before you were around, but in college I did me and some other people from the Portage County Players ended up in the stage adaptation of Holes.
That's another one I remember you guys talking about a lot, but that was before my time, I believe.
But so you knew Mike.
Oh God, yeah, of course.
Uh, but I forget if it was his idea. I think it might have been the director's idea. I can't remember whose idea it was, but he played Mr. Podansky. For those who don't remember, Mr. Podansky from these movie/book Holes is a guidance counselor at a children's like uh prison.
Yeah, prison like
work camp prison.
Yeah, it's like a gulag for children. If I
Um, but like there was a decision made that he should play Mr. Podansky like he's a pedophile.
That seems like something that we
Like
would have published money at the time.
there's no dialogue, but like the idea, but like he just had to make choices and scenes where like it was implied that he was like into the kids he was counseling. To be fair, Mr. Podansky is a creep in the movie, in like the story, but like he's not a good guy. So, but like in hindsight, you think back on it, it's like, I mean, it makes sense, but damn. All right, let's see here. I imagine this to be. Oh,
It's not bad. It actually
oh,
does kind of taste like Fruity Pebbles.
yeah. No, I was kind of expecting this to just be like more candy cane, but that actually does taste like Fruity Pebbles. Wow.
Like it's not bad, but at the same time, it's like if you want to eat something that tastes like Fruity Pebbles, just eat the Fruity Pebbles, dude. Like, this need to be a candy cane.
I mean, but that's the rage these days. Food that tastes like other food. It even has like that Rice crisp taste to
Yeah,
it.
yeah, that's strange. Actually, wonder which band dye produces that.
That is
Oh,
interesting.
dude, I remember like kind of a detour, but when I had to take chemistry as one of my prereqs to get into vet tech school,
Mm-hmm.
one of the things we learned about that you can be, it's called a flavor scientist. And it's just dudes who make artificial flavoring. Artificial flavorings are all chemical compounds, but don't misread that because everything is chemical compounds. That is one of the few things I retain from that class is that everything is chemicals.
Mm-hmm.
Everything.
Everything is made up of chemicals.
Yep.
Wow.
But yeah, one of the dudes in my class like actually wanted to get into that business, so he was actually very excited when we got onto topics such as vanillin and artificial flavors like that. Most vanilla flavored things you eat don't contain vanilla; they contain vanillin.
Interesting.
Yeah, because vanilla can only grow in jungles under very specific conditions.
All right. So if you had to rank these flavors that we've tried today, I actually do think I would have to put the fruity pebbles at the top.
Yes, like without question.
Like
Uh,
like you make a good point about like why not just eat fruity pebbles, but like it is out of all the flavors we tried, it is still like the most appealing of them.
yeah. Like
And,
all the hostess ones just kind of tasted the same after a while because they all had the marshmallow crap,
yeah,
which isn't even what their cream filling fucking tastes like.
that's a good point. I'd actually say Ding Dong is probably the most disappointing of the flavors.
Yeah. I was expecting more from all of those, to be honest.
Yeah, the Hostess one's serious letdown. No one is missing out on these Hostess ones. The Twinkie one just tastes like candy corn.
Yeah, that was
Wildly disappointing.
yeah.
So yes, the winner is
The
Fruity Pebbles
yeah.
candy canes. The cocoa ones are okay. They're about on par with a chocolate candy cane. I don't know anyone whose favorite flavor of candy cane is chocolate because chocolate really is one of those things where it's like, well, wouldn't you rather just have chocolate?
Yeah.
Although I say that, but Tootsie Rolls continue to be in circulation.
Yeah.
And Tootsie Rolls are something that is almost chocolate-ish. Yeah, where were we?
Yeah, about like theater.
Oh yeah,
still.
I think that improv rewired my brain sometimes.
Yeah,
Like I sometimes wonder like how how much less like socially aware I would be without improv.
yeah. I will say that the friendships that I formed doing improv back in the time that I did that at Kent State, like those were the most intense friendships I've ever formed, for sure. Um, like I still keep in touch with most of the people that I hung out with
Oh yeah, nice.
from then. Yeah, I don't know. Like I feel like because high school, like you did like drama club is like the plays were picked for you. You got cast in the part the director decided would be easiest for you to do, or whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm.
But I liked that like the group like it felt like I didn't feel like I was part of something. I just felt like it was a class that I was taking. This is what drama club felt like. It was just a class with a shit ton of people in it
Mm-hmm.
that demanded a lot of your free time. But then like when I joined improv, I felt like it was more like this is a movement and I am in it. Because I was very like intense punk rock shit at the time. So like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, honestly, like, one of the things I miss most about home, like, I don't know, thought my tongue was colored for a second. Uh, honestly, like, I look back on, I look back on doing improv in college, and in certain ways, like, it felt like this is gonna sound weird to say because I'm very alive, but like, it felt more like it felt like you were more alive if that makes any sense.
Yeah, like all the shows we did, I remember feeling like they were very important to me. I don't know. I like it just felt like, yeah, this we're doing this, and like I think I was just like, it's because that's the kind of like dedication that was shown to the punk scene at the time, and then that just kind of dried up because Gyro stopped hosting punk rock shows, so there were no all ages venues, and I didn't have a car. so
Mm-hmm.
so I think I maybe was just taking all the energy I was putting into going to punk shows and being like, yeah, what we are doing is so important, even though it's just like an underground show at a dive bar in the Midwest. No one fucking cares.
Yeah. What's great about that sentence though is that you could be talking about improv or a punk show.
Yeah. I liked it because like improv, like the way the group was while we were in it, kind of punk a little bit. Like,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Like we were all a bunch of weirdos and
Weird, like edgy, like
yeah. Like you were there, like you joined around like peak Portage County players too. Like my fourth year in college, I was there for 5 years, but my fourth year in college was like the sort of like the peak for Portage County players in a way, because like we had been around enough and done enough shows and participated enough in the theater communities, like various events, that like all the kids who had started going to college at the same time I had was all very aware of us and like actually kind of supportive by the end. And all those people graduated for the and then they were gone because most of them were only in college for 4 years and I was there for 5. So like so I got to experience like after that too. But like although that year had some that year was actually crazy in a lot of ways. But yeah, you were there for like sort of like peak Portage County players when we were like getting the good gigs. But then you were also there for when we were getting screwed over.
yeah.
You were like, because the following year there was like a real shift up in like the department to like, because like people would graduate. Now there were new grad students and new and like students who were younger than us who had been coming up the ranks and didn't like know us as well. Sort of were like the main people all of a sudden. Rough. They got jealous because we were smart enough to sell waters at the intermissions for shows.
Yeah. That was an annoying. Like my presidency, that was just a never ending source of headaches for me. Was the school and theater and dance constantly getting on my case about every fucking thing. And I was just like, and I wasn't even president for most of it. I was vice president for some of that. They were like, "Why don't you have the key?" Like, I haven't even got it from you yet. Why are you yelling at me? Yes, you did. You got it. Like, well, what did the person who got the key who wasn't me? What did they look like? And then they would describe somebody else in the group. It's like, okay, well, that's not me. Call them. Like, I don't know you. And then when I was president, it was the very bad times.
Mm-hmm.
I think we had like 3 shows all together my entire presidency because everyone just kind of fucking disappeared.
Mm-hmm. That's just rough. But the happy ending was that you managed to pass improv off to another generation.
I kept it on life support.
And actually we've met enough people to know that the new group was part of a transformation from the old group. Because you may have been saying, hey, who are the Portage County players? Well, the Portage County players is what they used to call the improv club at Kent State.
Now it's Black Squirrel Improv.
Yes, it's Black Squirrel Improv Troupe.
Which is fucking lame, but whatever.
No, I see. That
fits the group better now.
I think it makes sense though, like because
like gear it to the school that way.
But like also because like the way things develop, if you like pay attention to it, is that like things start out like gritty and hard rock and like in your face and wild and full of passion and anger. And then like as they become mainstream, they mellow the fuck out. Like it's like Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
When it started, it was rebellious and on edge, and now it's an institution.
And it's
at least to people like us who like it raw. Yeah, alternative comedy. But yeah. I really do actually credit improv with really helping me out as a neurodiverse person.
Same.
Like it really it helped me learn how to make friends, but also like because like I don't know what was wrong with me. I was like a very like I went through a phase where like I changed from being this like very like outspoken like I grew up as a kid who was like not afraid of anything, and then suddenly like over time as I interacted with more people, I just so slowly became more and more like restrained, let more and like slowly became more and more of an introvert over time. Although I also misremember my childhood as being happy. And I know from talking with my parents that I must have been depressed. And I know I must have been depressed because when I was a kid, my parents would always call me either like my dad would compare me to Charlie Brown, and my mom would compare me to Eeyore.
Oh.
And I look back and I was like, okay, yeah, no, I was depressed. That's
Say, hey, no serotonin kid, are you? I got called old soul a few times when I was a kid, which is weird because I was a fucking spaz.
I got old soul a lot too. I got that one a lot. I wonder honestly, I'm beginning to wonder if old soul is really honestly just another way to spot a neurodiverse person.
Yeah.
Like back in my day, you weren't neurodiverse, you were an old soul or an eccentric.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't let your kids hang out with that guy. Or maybe you would. It was the 60s. You trusted adults for no reason. Back in my day, you could just beat up little kids. No one said anything. Have you ever, have you ever, do you ever, have you ever read or listened to anything by David Sedaris?
Yes.
You seem
yes. Lots of my writing professors told me that I should read David Sedaris and that my work had similar like cadence to it that David Sedaris did. And I guess I can see it. He's kind of
his. I mean, like his.
I mean, his material that made him famous anyway. It's very well, not edgy, but it's still like shut up, nerd, like that kind of like aspect to it. But at the same time, it's very like introspective and
Yes,
yeah,
he is also the nerd. He is telling
yeah,
you shut up.
yeah. 90% of the time, it is stuff. It is him who is the nerd who needs to shut up.
He did one about like he had like a monologue that I heard on like NPR at one point, and it was all just about how like basically when he was growing up that like adults could just beat the shit out of you for like no reason. They could like punch you or hit you with a golf club and stuff, and, and like no one would say anything. It was just the way it was. I guess what I'm saying is that in a weird way, society has actually gotten better towards children and young people. And I don't know if we're actually cognitively aware of it. This is tying back around to that cheerleader movie I was talking about earlier. Like, we are much more aware of concepts like abusing children or mistreating children, like as a society. We have actually we value the innocence of children much more than society used to.
Yeah.
And I think that's progress. Like that seems good, right?
Yeah.
Or should we all go back to telling German fairy tales where everything
I
is
think there needs to be an element of that.
you know what? I do think if there's one thing that I think is wrong with Disney in terms of how they desecrate culture and art is like how they have like very like critically shaved all the rough edges off of children's stories that were previously like kind of fucked up.
Yeah, nobody dies in Disney movies anymore.
Except for the parents. Except for one of the parents. You can't have them both, kid. One of your parents has got to die. You're in a Disney movie.
Now, which do you want? Overprotective, nurturing mother, or one bunk to the head away from being a vegetable dad? Like those are your options: buffoon or helicopter parent.
Except for you, Cinderella. We're killing both of your parents. You're just gonna live with your stepmom. Your real parents are both dead. That's right. We got both of them.
I think Cinderella's a Brothers Grimm type thing because like
Yeah, I think so.
the actual Cinderella is actually really fucked up because
Yeah.
like the stepsisters cut their toes off so the shoe will fit.
Yeah, one cuts off their heel and the other one cuts off their toes or something.
Yeah, it's just like Germans don't care, dude.
Yeah.
It's like graphic violence.
And apparently the slipper was also originally like a fur slipper because it was a metaphor for a pussy.
Yeah.
Oh man, though. I grew up on fairy tales though. Like my parents had I had all kinds of fairy tale books and stuff. She was crazy. The German fairy tales you've told me about are all amazing.
Yeah. There's the Struvel Peter kind of stories, like the all written by one of the first mental health advocates in European history, by the way. We need to be more honest about mental health, especially among children. Anyway, children, here's a story about how if you fidget at the dinner table, you will die.
Yep.
That's a story called Zappel Philip.
Zappel Philip.
Yeah, Zappel Philip. It just means like fidget Philip is what it translates to. But it's a boy who can't sit still at the dinner table, and his parents keep telling him, "Don't rock back and forth in your chair, you will fall down." And he falls down, and he hits his head on the floor, and he dies.
Good Lord.
And then there's the other story about how you need to finish your food because that's how things were back then.
I feel like these stories are all very short. Is that correct?
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's no plot development really. It's just this is a thing that is bad. This kid did the bad thing. Bad thing happens to kid.
Germans, very direct people.
Death or grievous bodily harm is
My children, you are doing this thing I hate. Allow me to tell you a quick story about how that thing leads to death.
And then there's also a don't be racist one.
Nice. Apparently, not enough Germans were told that one.
But the way that they teach the kid to not be racist anymore is they throw him in a vat of ink, which dyes his skin, and then they make him go out in public, and then everyone's racist to him. That's how they teach him don't be racist.
This story will be copied by white people forever. They will constantly. That sounds exactly like what is it, Black Like Me or something? A story about that guy who like tanned his skin and then went to the deep south.
Yeah.
The only way to cure racism is to experience racism. That actually might be true. Yeah. Fucking white people.
Yeah. And then there's another one where don't go outside if it's too windy, and the kid gets blown away and dies, presumably.
And of course, the Russians had Baba Yaga.
Yeah.
Tell their children about Baba Yaga. Little Mermaid does not end like the Disney movie.
Yeah. It's really super fucked up ending.
Everybody dies.
Yeah. And they make like aerial dance for their amusement on the bridge while she's dying.
Honestly, one Disney fairy tale that is honestly just lame how they've changed it, but in fairness, most adaptations don't do the whole story. And that's Beauty and the Beast, which my understanding is the number one thing that all movies leave out is all the fairy wars.
Yeah, there's a fair amount of violence in fairy tales that people don't.
Yep, there's
decapitations in Alice in Wonderland, people. Like,
oh yeah, off with their head. Yeah. Although Alice in Wonderland is more of a fantasy and not so much a fairy tale.
Yeah, that's true.
And even then, that guy was just mad about math. I don't know. Well, he was two things. One, he was angry about new math, and he thought it was just. So he just thought new math allows you to make up the rules as you went along. So he wrote a book about that, and yeah, but also he was trying to impress like a 10-year-old girl. See, this is what I'm talking about. Nowadays, everyone is super aware about like, hey, you don't want your kids to get hurt, especially not by creepy weirdos. But back in Victorian England, they were like, oh, this strange, eccentric gentleman is interested in our daughter. Amazing. Yes, Yes, no, please spend unsupervised time with her and write as many books to her as you want.
And there's also like in America, it used to be considered normal. Like if you wanted your kid to go visit a relative, you just ask the mailman to drive her there.
Oh, I've heard about this.
Yeah, that's a real thing people used to do.
I believe there were eventually laws passed to forbid this.
Well, yeah, I hope.
The United States Postal Service is not here to taxi your children around.
Like I think in some places you could do it. You just had to send your kid as a package.
I'm sorry, ma'am. You want to what?
I want to mail my 7-year-old kid to see his aunt.
All right. Well, do you have all the stamps? Okay.
That's necessary postage. I am bound by law now to take this package to submission.
All right, kid, get on the back of the horse. I'm carrying you to the next town. You don't let any of those postage stamps fall off you now, son. Otherwise, you're lost mail. Don't worry, ma'am. I'm just joking. I already know you paid for the stamps.
And I was like, I'm trying to remember what kind of media my parents. I know Beatles records a lot. My mom was actually pretty proactive about like seeking out children's media for us from like pretty like diverse and like responsible sources for the most part. Like I was made to go to church every week, but we did not have religious iconography up except for Christmas. After like I think I even got to quit going to Sunday school after I finished confirmation. So like that was pretty big deal when you're a kid. Oh man, yeah, my parents like between being boomers and not understanding psychology, like they picked like the least ADHD kid friendly activities for me to do. Piano, French horn. um, I seem to remember there was a phase where they were trying to get me into like oh man, it was something to do like because I wasn't like good at school enough to be in like the smart kids clubs at school like my brother and sister were, so they tried to like push me into other stuff, but usually it would just manifest in me staying home and listening to music and writing stuff. I'm trying to figure out how ADHD may have influenced the evolution of my creative processes over the years.
That's a great question.
Yeah, I feel like a lot between like I think it's mostly just being an edgy punk thing, but like a lot of the times that when I wrote some of my best shit is when I had to listen to or read other people in the creative writing classes stupid shit. And I was like, this sucks so fucking much. I'm gonna make something cooler. So like a lot spite was a motivator for me back in the day a lot. Now that I think about it.
I don't even know how to describe my creative process necessarily. I work well in groups with other people, very much creative wise. When I was young, my parents got me involved in multiple theater groups, and one of them was New World Children's Theater through this group called Standing Rock Cultural Arts. And this was actually cool because it was a homeschool group, kind of. Some of the, like, there was a good chunk of kids who went to public school, but it was also like a lot of homeschool kids. But this was like the hippie homeschool kids. And so I could be as weird as I wanted to be. And we would all get together and we would write plays. And for most of the plays, I somehow became like head writer of like my group of kids. Although there were a couple plays where my friend Rowan would end up being like kind of the head writer, and it would be like more his concept. But there was one where the two of us together were sort of the head writers for it. That show was called The Tycoon, and it was all about cloning. It was about a rich, wealthy industrialist, trucking tycoon. But he wanted to. The gist of the show was that he cloned himself so that his clone could do like boring businessy stuff, while he got to spend more time at clubs. hanging out with dancers. But of course, the clone is not that smart, and he messes it all up, and eventually has to go on the run from the tycoon. It was a good time. It was a good time. My friend Rowan played a hitman called Bleach, and he was called Bleach because he would poison people with bleach, and then also like he was obsessed with cleaning things.
I'm not like I can do okay with collaborative stuff depending on what it is. But like I hate like if I know everybody in the group and I understand the assignment, usually it's fine. But for collaborative shit, for what like it was just one thing for like creative major back in Kent State, but when I had to go to vet tech school and do group work, I remember being kind of annoyed because I didn't understand how we could do group work in a heavy scientific type of thing. And I was just so annoyed about it.
That makes
like,
sense.
and I'm not talking about lab partners. I'm talking like that makes sense to me because like you have to like keep each other in check, and also if you got somebody like me, like you put dumb with the smart kid, which is what they did, and then this, and that's always been my strategy for science related courses with lab components. Now that I think about it, that's what I did at Kent State too for the survey shit I had to take. It's like, okay, where's the nerd? There he is. Okay, like I'll just make myself like the test idiot. Like if someone's got to blow in a tube, I blow in the tube. If he's got to...
That's smart. That's smart. I wish I had thought of that. Maybe I would.
Yeah, that's how I survived. That's how I survived. And then the trend continued in vet tech school. Now, vet tech school is it's such the especially the one I went to was designed in such a way that you couldn't just do that. Like you had to contribute too. But I still like that's how I made my one friend that I in vet tech school was come here, nerd. Get over here. You're my nerd now. I'm 30.
Help me pass these courses.
It's like, you don't understand, dude. I'm out of ideas. It's this or nothing.
What happened to your dreams, man? Don't ask a 30-year-old that.
That is a loaded question. No. I am so amazed I passed vet tech school, though, because one of the not completely ADHD unfriendly because there are hands-on labs with live animals. That'll hold your attention real quick, and it better. Depending on what animal we're talking about, you better be paying attention.
Yeah, you don't want to lose your focus working with animals.
Yeah, that best case scenario, they hit you in the balls. That's best case scenario.
You hear that, people? Best case scenario, crotch shot.
Yeah, I had to restrain a goat one time. When I went to vet tech school, COVID was at its very peak. And I feel like, in a way, I'm glad I lived in a red state because it meant that I could still do these labs and actually learn the thing. Because I feel like if we had to go completely remote for vet tech school, I wouldn't have learned shit. But having something living, breathing in my face and now poke at this with a needle real quick. Don't miss its vein.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that.
And then on top of that, usually it's obscenely early in the morning and they would be having us do this. Like between 6 and 7 a.m. is when we had to be there for. And if you had patient care rounds, like you had to be there at like 5 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
And then you would work with the animals for 2 hours. And then sometimes you would get to go take a nap in the library in the main school building. But sometimes you would have class immediately after your 2.5 hours of running around with a bunch of semi-feral dogs from Tulsa Animal Welfare.
One thing I will say is that as far as me dealing with my neurodiversity and my education, it was actually really helpful for me to go to college. For whatever reason, being in a specific room to learn a specific thing.
Yeah, I do better in person.
Guaranteed that I did the thing.
Yeah.
I was not good at online courses, and that was before like online courses were normal.
Yeah, I hated COVID era stuff. Like the first semester of vet tech school was when it was mostly remote, and we only came to first most of the first year was when we only came to the building to do labs.
When I think about it, I probably would have, I might have learned things, I might have been better at learning things if I had attended public school. Just because, just based on how I was able to learn in college, maybe I would have benefited from something. I would have at least gotten through science classes.
Yeah, because
Took,
the way that public school curriculums are designed, it's to be a good prep for if you go to how American collegiate universities teach stuff. Like that, like to me, it's just sit still, read book, take notes.
I definitely was stuck learning biology as a homeschooler for like way longer than I was supposed to be still learning biology. Because like that was the thing when I was homeschooled. It wasn't like you passed or failed. It was like no, you just do it until you're done doing it. The only reason we do the pass and fail thing is because we need people to try and we want people to learn on like the same like at this on like this at the same rate so we can just keep it for organizational purposes. But yeah, I might be better at math if I had gone to public school. Yes, that's right. I'm autistic and bad at math. I have been told that this is an anomaly. Although I kind of blame my parents for using the Waldorf method. I was when I was a kid.
What's that?
When I was well, okay. So Waldorf is a type of Montessori learning that emphasizes storytelling as like the method of learning. And
Yeah.
like in many ways, I think this made me who I am and trained my brain to be good at the things that my brain is good at. But bad at math because no amount of storytelling makes you better at math.
Dude, I used to have such bad panic attacks about math class at school when I was a kid. In hindsight, I now know they were panic attacks. I remember like second grade, like this is when we were in Germany, and I went to that school of like it was American military, American English, and Scandinavian military kids.
Wow.
I was mainly stuck in the American kid classes because of my mom, but like they taught us how to do math, like adding double digits, and I was dog shit at it. It was so bad. And the thing they were doing is like if you get a check plus on your test, you get to cut out a picture of like it was a picture of a sandwich, and you got to add a different piece of the sandwich to your chart. And then at the end of learning this math unit, we got to eat sandwiches. But
Interesting.
I remember mine only had the bottom bun and the lettuce like for a month. Like everybody in the class was like, including the kid who was like, in hindsight, like just clearly needed help that this school could not give him. He was doing better than me.
Oof.
Yes, he was. That kid was the kid ADHD and maybe bipolar too. He was like the it's a thing that every public school kid has gone through. The kid that gets mad and throws shit. that's that's what this kid was.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, the kid, and this was the '90s where they were just now starting to realize, hey, maybe we need to ask these kids why did you punch that other kid in the face? Why did you feel the need to rip out that kid's hair by the roots? These are all things I saw in public school, by the way. In the '90s.
Yeah. The '90s.
So, this is what you're romanticizing, Gen Z.
The '90s. We were almost conscious, but also not quite there yet as a society. Although,
like, have fun wearing your fake ass Jinkos. That's what their kids are doing now. They're wearing fake ass Jinkos now.
Yes.
Can't even be bought. You could probably get a pair of actual Jinkos from the '90s for like $5. You go to the right department, the right thrift store in the right part of the South.
I never wore Jinkos.
I never did either because I was too young to think they were cool.
And
they didn't really make that much of a splash in Europe too. So I don't think I saw Jinkos. I saw Jinkos in a movie and I didn't understand what I was looking at. It was like, why that guy's pants so big?
It just seems like it would be. It just seems like it would be cumbersome.
Yeah,
Seems like
they get wet a lot. So if it was the 90s and you lived in like say Germany where it is raining a lot of the time also, uh, just like where we are now. The your feet get soaked. Eventually, you knew you had to throw away your jinkos when the part that like covered your shoes would get shredded up from all the contact with concrete. Yeah. I guess I don't know. I didn't fucking notice this because the only times that I interact with Gen Z people are at work, and there tends to be uniforms in animal related jobs. So I don't know how they look in their civilian attire. But yeah, my sister's like, no, the Gen Z thinks 90s are the shit. Or like grunge 90s. No, like late 90s. Like they're getting back into new metal. And it's like, now that I think about it, I saw like a lot of like Corn t-shirts at the coffee house I used to go to all the time back in Tulsa, but I thought that was just because I was in Tulsa.
oh wow. With our country going the way it's going, I wouldn't be surprised if people suddenly discovered POD.
Oh my god, that fucking band! Like I remember,
I was into POD for a minute.
I didn't. New metal didn't really click with me. I knew who Limp Bizkit was, and then like I learned about Corn and like bands like that when I was in like eighth grade.
What's funny about POD is that like they had their radio play songs. But then if you like actually got their albums, there'd be like a bunch of songs on there where it's like they're singing with a reggae guy.
Yeah,
They would like I don't know if POD smoked weed, but like it was
probably
clear.
they're from California,
I,
probably.
I mean, yeah, no, like for those that aren't familiar with POD, they were like a
Christian,
Christian new metal band,
yeah.
or
I feel so alive.
at least as close as you can get to being a Christian new metal band and still basically be releasing mainstream music.
Yeah. Like Switchfoot was a
Yeah.
band that did a similar thing, but they were more of a post grunge kind of sound.
I won't lie, I would rather listen to POD than Creed.
Creed's a fun meme. Um, I don't remember meeting anyone who like legitimately thought Creed was sick. It was always like they liked it because of how stupid it was.
I feel like everyone I ever met who liked Creed was like just a close to being a square.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's because like their lyrics are like they're religious, but not really.
yeah,
Like they
yeah.
could argue either way if they
Similar,
wanted to. Like,
similar to POD.
yeah.
I
So like
feel
it you
so
can, and then that's
alive.
how Switchfoot was too. Like I didn't know Switchfoot was a Christian band until someone's like, "Have you listened to any of their songs that aren't meant to live?" And also, if you read the lyrics to "Meant to Live," like there's a lot of Jesus stuff in there. And
Yeah,
then I would go on to have a drug dealer who was obsessed with Switchfoot.
sounds right.
Yeah, if I went to go cop from this guy, I don't remember what I would go to him for, but I bare minimum, and it wasn't because he was paranoid. I feel like he seemed like one of the rare but present drug dealers who start stealing drugs so they can make friends. So like, aha, captive audience. You have to be my friend or I won't sell to you.
Yeah, no, let's be honest. The real reason that people choose a dispensary is so that they don't have to get high with their drug dealer.
Yeah. I mean, there were dealers that like I became kind of chummy with and
Oh yeah,
fun
no,
hanging
like
out with. Funny, but like usually no, especially when I was doing hard shit. Fuck no.
yeah, like no, everyone's had at least one cool drug dealer that you actually wanted to hang out with.
Yeah. But like yeah, but the Switchfoot guy, dear God, he would make I think one time I went over there and he made me hang out with him and listen to Switchfoot while he played Halo for like 2 hours
Good lord.
before he was finally like, okay, man, yeah. Sorry about that. I was got caught up in the and like, dude, he was so into Switchfoot. Like I thought he was fucking with me because no one liked Switchfoot because they were fucking lame. So,
Honestly, I don't know. I don't know if I've ever actually met anyone who was into Switchfoot.
like
Apparently, this drug deal.
yeah, like I didn't even know they had more than the one record. They had like a whole ass discography, and this dude had every fucking one of them. And I've listened to probably most of their catalog without even realizing it because I wasn't paying attention to it because I just wanted to, all I could think about was, I want to leave. Take my money so I can leave. And he also lived in a not, well, not scary, bad, rough enough that that you'd think I wouldn't be so gung ho to go back out into the street. But I wanted desperately to leave that strange little nerd's house. So I wouldn't have to listen to Switchfoot and watch him play Halo or Tony Hawk Pro Skater.
Just for the record, I've had plenty of drug dealers who were perfectly cool to hang out with. We're just saying that generally speaking, your ability to enter a legal store, buy what you want, and leave,
just leave, yeah,
and not have to worry about like waiting till you're less high enough to leave. Always a plus.
Yeah, not have to worry constantly about is like, was that thump I heard across the street, or is that on the porch and the door's about to be booted in by somebody not nice?
I'm not gonna lie, man. The only time I've ever like been actively involved with any type of drugs and like I was like, oh God, am I about to get arrested? Were all times that I was hanging out with you and Johnny.
Oh God, that guy.
Hanging out.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah.
Hanging out with Johnny was not fun.
He was so like, dude. I remember when I moved in with him. Like, I laid down ground rules because I was like, okay, he wants to start living on his own. I remember what that was like. I need a roommate. Like, he seems cool enough. We like a lot of the same shit. We hang out a lot, get along okay. It's like, but he's really young though. So I gotta like be like, okay, listen, you little shit. Like, whatever you do, don't do this, this, and this. Like, I forget the 3 rules that I gave him. It's like, don't throw parties without telling me. Was the one rule. He never did, but he did have lots of friends over just to hang out, which technically isn't a party. But still incredibly fucking annoying because, like him, all of his friends are fucking cop magnets.
That sounds right.
Yeah. And I said, don't like, I understand what you do to pay money. Please do not do that out in the open. Have people come in here. As you can see, where we live, the people aren't going to really notice or care. So they don't have to hang out with us for hours. But please do not just walk out there and dap handoff stuff, okay? And then he did that like the first day there.
Of course. Of course.
One time he also dropped a bunch of things that were illegal at the time. Now they are not. You can buy them in a store, and it is legal as long as you're 21. But at the time, you could not. He dropped this in the parking lot and just left it there.
I can, dude.
No attempt made to pick it up.
Dude, that's not even for like the fact that it's your fucking product. Weird. All right, we've been chit chatting for nearly 2 hours now.
Yeah, I feel like this is good enough. This mask is starting to get a little much.
Yes. All right. So let's see here. Final thoughts.
Yeah, man, I really gotta start trying to get my ADHD treated because we bounced all over the place, and also it's starting to become kind of an issue again. Oof. Yeah, this shit ain't quirky and fun. Most of the time, it's just kind of frustrating.
Yeah, no. People mistake the fact that ADHD people make quirky and fun media for the fact that ADHD people are quirky and having fun.
And this is false. Most of the time, we are not having a good time. And self-loathing runs very, very rampant in people with ADHD, actually.
That sounds right.
Mostly among people my age and a little older, because, you know, our parents would have been boomers or elder Gen Xers. So it was just, there's, yeah, that's a crack. You're just a bad kid. Fucking dumb kid. Quit being dumb, dumbass. And then you internalize that.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah.
That's a problem. And if you're real introspective, No one even has to say anything for you to internalize anything.
Yeah. Like that's
I
another.
internalized plenty of things that no one ever said to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, no, just growing up neurodiverse and not realizing it's well, I'm certain we have even more to say about it.
Yeah, if we could corral our thoughts with any sort of frequency, yeah.
I think that maybe, I mean, maybe the stream of consciousness nature of it
Yeah, I
is
feel
all
like
part of the journey.
yeah.
All right. Well, anyways, thank you for joining me here on Ruben Uncut. Another exciting episode of Me's Talking with Gato. This time specifically about being neurodiverse, but also candy canes. I don't know if they'll bring any of those candy canes back next Christmas, but if they do, now you know. All right, time to say goodbye, Gato.
Goodbye, everybody.
All right, thank you for tuning in. Have a wonderful whatever, wherever, whoever you are.
Yeah.